Fahad learned that his indictment had 4 counts. 2 counts related to material support or conspiring to provide material support to terrorism. 2 counts related to breaking or conspiring to break executive orders that prohibit any contribution aid to Al-Qaeda. If convicted of these 4 counts, Fahad faces 70 years in federal prison. That's a 7 with a 0 years in federal prison. Under federal law, you do a minimum of 85% of all time you're sentenced to. And realistically, after the 85%, you're only then eligible to be heard by a parole board, and many people don't get that release in that last 15% of time. So in effect, Fahad is facing a life sentence. He's facing dying in federal custody as an old man if he makes it that far, if convicted of these counts. Besides learning the charges, some information has been provided in the course of the litigation in England and through other documents that have been obtained and interviews. I spoke about that visit Fahad had from that acquaintance back in 2004, over 2 years before he's arrested. Well, that person, it turns out, is what's called I want to use the right word, a cooperating witness for the U.S. government. This person, about 2 months after seeing Fahad, came to New York City and pled guilty to 5 counts of terrorism, himself facing 70 years in prison, had a family that needed protection. That person says, according to information we've been provided, says that while he stayed with Fahad back in 2004, this person, this supposed witness, said that he kept some luggage in Fahad's apartment. And in this luggage was raincoats, ponchos, and waterproof socks. Raincoats, ponchos, waterproof socks. The person says that he kept the luggage, the waterproof socks, in Fahad's apartment for about the 2 weeks. And then this person supposedly went to South Waziristan, Pakistan, and hand-delivered them to the 3rd-ranking member of the Al-Qaeda organization, a man named Al-Hadi al-Iraqi. From what we've learned, those are the factual allegations. That this person says that he told Fahad, I'm going to keep these socks in your apartment, and they're going to Al-Qaeda. Supposing Fahad agreed to let him keep the socks in his apartment, and that Fahad allowed this person to borrow his cell phone. So not that Fahad called anyone in Al-Qaeda, but this person who borrowed the cell phone talked to some people involved in nefarious activities. That's the material support. And again, I'm talking about the government's case. So when you read in the papers, Fahad the terrorist, Fahad the member of Al-Qaeda, I just ask that you at least remember what the government is saying. The government does not say that Fahad is a member of Al-Qaeda. The government does not say that. The government does not say that Fahad ever gave anyone in Al-Qaeda a gun, a bullet, a Stinger missile, an RPG, no military equipment. The government does not say that Fahad ever directly gave anything to anyone else in Al-Qaeda. The material support in the conspiracy was that he allowed this person to keep the waterproof socks in his apartment for 2 weeks, supposedly, allegedly knowing that it would go to someone in Pakistan who would have links with Al-Qaeda. That's the state of our law. That's material support. Some other speakers might talk more about it. For myself, I think of it like this. If I cut off my fingernail clippings and I know it's a member of Al-Qaeda and give my fingernail clippings, that's material support. That's how broad the definition is at this point. On that basis of these charges, Fahad was entitled to a bail hearing, a detention hearing in New York. And we believed, as the law says, that bail is not supposed to be punishment. Bail and a hearing before the trial process is supposed to come up with a mechanism to ensure the return of the defendant to future court dates. That's the only purpose of bail, to make sure the person takes seriously their obligation to come to court, and that the court has some type of leverage that they will come back to court. And there are a few things that all courts look at in determining bail. They look at the person's community ties. They look at the seriousness of the offense. They look at the person's past criminal history. Those three things are the most important factors taken into account by any judge anywhere in this country in any type of criminal case. So, we prepared. Community ties, so what can we do? We brought ourselves to court, family came to court, community members came to court. As many people are in this room, if not more, were in court that day. And we were told that Fahad didn't have sufficient community ties, despite the fact there was a courtroom packed full of people. We proposed a bail package. There was a generous member of the community who's known Fahad and his family for decades, who offered to put up $500,000 in collateral, property, cash. That was not considered sufficient. Fahad has no criminal history whatsoever. Zero prior arrests. It was pointed out, well, when Fahad was arrested, he supposedly fought against the police and yelled threats at them. So based on the threats that he made to the police and the fact that he fought extradition, it's clear that he doesn't have respect for American law, so it's not expected that he will come back to court. Fahad was then ordered detained without bail. A few months after that, we learned that Fahad was placed under something called special administrative measures. Special administrative measures, also known as SAMs, are conditions of confinement that can be approved by only one person, the Attorney General of the United States. This is not your local prosecutor. This isn't even the head of the local office. This is, the top dog. That time, Alberto Gonzalez had just had his legal problems and was off the scene, so the acting Attorney General at that point signed these. And the SAMs then required, as I mentioned earlier, no contact with any media, no contact with lawyers until we signed the SAMs. Some of you may remember the case of Lynn Stewart and her representation of Sheikh Rahman. In that case, Lynn Stewart signed the SAMs saying that she would not speak anything that the government didn't approve of about the case. She was prosecuted for supposedly violating that and now has a sentence over her head that she's appealing. The exact same procedures are in place in this case, and we fought the SAMs for months and told the judge we think they're unconstitutional, they're illegal, and they're unethical as an attorney to operate like this. The judge denied our application, said we were free to appeal basically, but that the status quo would remain unless an appellate court overturned her decision, which would mean that until Coram and I signed the SAMs, we would be barred from seeing our client who is being held in solitary confinement. So we decided that we could not, weighing everything, leave Fahad in that position with no one able to find out how they were treating him, whether he was getting food, whether he was being abused, and we signed them. And so at this point we have to operate under them. So forgive me that I can't say everything that I would like about this case. Fahad's under the SAMs. There is something else in this case that touches on what should be the due process of anyone brought before a court of law. In this case, the government says there's going to be classified information. And classified information, in many times, means that the government obtained information improperly, illegally, surreptitiously, and they don't want people to find out how they got it, so they classify